First thing I'm going to do is ring the bell, and at that point I'm going to ask that you all rise and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, please be seated. It's wonderful to see such a packed room. We're going to take our official photograph for our club today, so we're very pleased that it's so crowded. And I told the secretary that he is now going to be our membership chairman, so we're just very pleased here. We're going to have a very short meeting about what we normally do. I want to thank everybody in Titusville Rotary who was a part of our spaghetti dinner. That was Friday night. Our big thanks to Karen and to the school district for the tremendous help that they've given us over the years and on Friday. I don't have official numbers yet in terms of how much money we raise for student council and for the philanthropy that we do here at Titusville Rotary. But I will tell you that we cooked 81 pounds of pasta, and the number I figured out was 2,430 ounces of sauce. So that was tremendous. Our best guess is somewhere in the area of 400 meals, so thank you all for a wonderful job. Protocol at Rotary requires me to do two things. One is to acknowledge visiting Rotarians, and two, to have our guests introduced. So what I'm going to ask is, first I want to say hello to Michelle Brooks, who is a visiting Rotarian from the Greigville Rotary. Thank you very much for coming out. Are there any other visiting Rotarians? Okay, here comes the tough part. I'm going to ask that for your assistance in getting everybody introduced that are all our guests. And I'm going to put Jack on the spot here. If you could start us, Jack.
All righty. I'm Jack Preston, Rotarian, kind of connected to the agricultural industry to a certain extent for practically all my life, I guess. I think we just go around, and if you're sponsored by a Rotarian, they can introduce you. If not, just introduce yourself, and we'll start at this table here and go right around, and we'll end up back at this table.
Lyle Miller, my wife Jan, we live up by Spartansburg.
Al Rickerson.
I'm Steve Coleman from Rotary, and I have Ralph and Dana Martin with me. Then with Mary Hagee, Ron Kerr invited us. Jeff and Gail Jones.
I'm Ron Kerr. My guests today are Abby and John Martin, and Barb and Jim Martin.
I'm Jay Stevenson.
Dick Carr, my guests today are Vern Knapp and Bill Meyer.
Jennifer Jones, I'm an attorney here in town, and it's kind of awkward, but I'm actually sponsoring John Hughes and his wife, which are just right over here, and Chad Hughes and his wife, which are at that front table right there.
Richard Dieter, my daughter Latina, Ron Kerr, Rajan.
I'm Mike Sample, and this is one of the hardest working dairy farmers I know, Debbie Donovan, and her husband,
A little left. I've got a high here. His wife and he couldn't make it this year. That's it.
Terry Wig,
Ron Wig.
Karen Cochran, Ashley Johnson.
Bravo.
Jim Feely, Maxine, nephew Chris sponsored this.
Margaret Feely, my son sponsored me.
Chad Jones, my wife Christie.
State Representative Michelle Brooks, member of the Greenville Club, and I just want to thank you for all you do for polio. My aunt had polio as a child and it left her handicapped her entire life, so thank you for everything you've done.
I'm Emily Osmar from the Chamber of Commerce, and Ron invited me too.
Scott Preston, my wife Lila, sponsored by brother Jack Preston. And I'm a dairy farmer, retired, woodcutter, whatever. And I'm the district governor, past district governor in the Lions Club in the Greig 45 years. And Farm Bureau. My son Dale, right here.
Mark Creecraft.
Doug Killer, believe it or not, Ron Kerr fighting.
David Fox, Jack Preston asked me. Ron Kerr, Roger Simpson, Ron Kerr.
Lois Schrapp.
Rob Buck and Ron Kerr asked him not to come, but
Karen, yes.
Conrad Kerr, I think I'm the last guy that Ron Kerr invited.
Okay, thank you very much. I didn't realize this was going to be a contest between Jack and Ron.
Just how long as you help pay.
I did. Some of mine were more modest, you know. Okay. Everybody's been introduced, and everybody's full, and everybody's going to stay awake.
2 out of 3 in the bed.
Hey, that's a pretty good percentage anyway. It's always a pleasure for the Rotary Club of Titusville to host the Farm City Day. It's always a pleasure to have the agricultural community represented. I guess as you look around and see who was introduced and so forth, the Rotarians have got a little work to do come future years. Our speaker today is a native of Crawford County, over in the Linesville area. He has served on the Farm Bureau Board for a number of years, was their representative for this district. He's also been a township supervisor for a number of years, and I believe he was chairman for a number of years also. They have 6 children, and they have 3 grandchildren, and his wife was telling me she can't wait to get more. George says we got to get them married off. I guess that's a prerequisite. So it is a great pleasure to introduce Pennsylvania Secretary of Agriculture, the Honorable George Greig.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I'm a little bit nervous, you know. A lot of times I speak to people who don't know much about agriculture, but I have to make sure that I don't tell any fibs here today. It's always great to be back home, and great that they asked me because I got to spend the weekend at home this week. Very honored to serve as 25th Secretary of Agriculture under the Corbett administration. It's really been an education for me. I think that we have been able to do a lot of good for agriculture and for the farmers. Jack didn't mention a dairy farmer for 30 years. He did say I was a township supervisor. I still am a township supervisor. My term doesn't expire for another 2 years, and the governor allowed me to keep that position because he believes in local government, believes that local control is the best control. And I actually have a township meeting tonight. This will be the first one in 3 years that I've been able to attend in person. I have been on conference call, all the rest of them, and it's a challenge, but my township residents wanted me to stay on, and you know, I think that that's a testament that we have done a pretty fair job there. Very interesting, when I came on as Secretary of Agriculture, I was asked by the governor, and I had no idea of all that was involved in being secretary. You know, we do amusement ride inspections, weights and measure inspection. We do 40,000 restaurant inspections a year. Food safety, we have 28 veterinaries on staff that take care of animal health, you know, do all the avian influenza work and all the food safety work at the department. When I came on board, I wanted to work on marketing because I know as a dairy farmer, we're really great at producing, not really great at marketing. One of the first bills that we passed under the Corbett administration was a PA preferred bill. It's really caught on in central and eastern Pennsylvania, but not so much in western Pennsylvania. I think it's because there are a lot of, you know, small businesses in central and eastern Pennsylvania that process their milk into ice cream, into yogurt and cheese, butter, whatever. So it's really caught on over there. Just recently, 2 weeks ago, I was in Philadelphia. We had 18 companies from China, India, Asia, and we had introduced them with 24 small Pennsylvania companies who were interested in getting into the export business. You know, we've had some conversation at our table. 98% or 93% of the mouths to feed are outside of the United States. So we cannot overlook the export market. When I came on, we had a couple of businesses that had gone broke trying to export dairy replacement heifers. I talked with those fellows and we kind of got started exporting dairy replacement heifers because of the sex semen and some other events. A lot of farmers have cattle, have heifers to sell that they don't need. So we created a market for those cattle. As of July, the end of July last year, we have exported 160,000 head of dairy replacement heifers through Pennsylvania. They did not all come from Pennsylvania, but we just signed a contract at the department. We do all the blood work and paperwork. And we signed a contract with Kazakhstan they want to import dairy replacement heifers. And just the blood work in our part of the contract is $30,000 a year. So, you know, I think that we have to maintain those markets for our farmers. I got a call one day from Keith Eccles. A lot of you who are involved in Farm Bureau know Keith Eccles. Keith called me one day and he had a fellow that he wanted to introduce to me. This fellow had a friend in China who was interested well, China has some food safety issues, and you might not hear about it or see it in the paper, but one time there was 180 children died one day in China from an issue with milk, melanoma or something in milk. And so anyway, this fellow wanted to be a broker, and the guy that his contact in China wanted to purchase 100,000 metric tons of powdered milk. And so we had people from the Center for Dairy Excellence in my office kind of looking up to see how much 100,000 metric tons of powdered milk was. It turns out it's $6 billion worth of powdered milk. And so we got the folks from DFA, DMS, Land O'Lakes. We had everybody from, we had people from Nebraska, California, New Mexico on the conference call, people from USDA food exports and Northeast dairy exports on the phone. And we made the connection with them. And they basically told us on that phone call that there was not 100,000 metric tons of powdered milk in the United States, let alone Pennsylvania. But about 3 weeks or a month later, I got an anonymous email and it said that there was 24,000 tons of metric tons of powdered milk had left for China. So it was fun to watch the price of powdered milk go up shortly after that. You know, I'm a dairy farmer and I don't care who gets the credit as long as the work gets done. And I know that now the price of corn and beans is down, so if you're in the grain commodity, you're not a happy camper, but if you're a dairy farmer, you're very happy because the price of milk is up in the 20s, low 20s, and the input costs are low. We do a lot, and I was asked about the third day on the job at the department. I still didn't know where all the bathrooms were in the building, but I was asked to serve on the governor's executive board. And of course, it was an opportunity that I felt that, you know, for a farmer, it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. And so I got to be in on more than just ag decisions, which I had my hands full to begin with, but just the opportunity to sit with, there's like 3 cabinet members and 3 human resource directors that sit on the governor's executive board. And so we have gone through and made some cuts and done some savings for the state. And we are up to about $488 or $489 million in savings since Governor Corbett took over now. There were people in state prisons that were collecting unemployment compensation, and we cured that. You know, we have eliminated a lot of positions. We have cut 2,000 vehicles, state vehicles. We've cut the fleet by 2,000. We have eliminated 3,300 state jobs just by consolidating. You know, everyone, I'm sure all the farmers here are doing more with less, and all of the private sector is doing that. And it's time that the state does that too. So when we would have someone, and we did this without firing anyone, just as someone would retire, we would offer, if it was like human resources and administration, we would offer a little bit of incentive to this person to take over both jobs. And then if we, when their secretary was either transferred to another job or when they would retire, you know, we go on down the line, and we've been able to streamline government. So I think that, you know, we have done a lot to streamline government. I know at the department, as I mentioned, we do amusement ride inspections. We do 9,800 amusement ride inspections every year. And one of the things that I've looked at, I modeled it after the milk inspection. I'm a dairy farmer. I went with something I knew, and we were able, it was called Certified Examiners of Weights and Measures, and that gives the state the opportunity to train a private inspector. So I started off with amusement rides, and so we were training private individuals to do the inspections. That way, the state doesn't have to come up with their salaries, the health care benefits, the pension benefits of those inspectors. So as of the first of the year, we had 2,280 private inspectors doing the inspections on amusement rides compared to having state employees driving around in state vehicles doing the inspections. So those amusement ride people, they call the private inspectors. We have 4 people in the state that oversee and audit their inspections. So we still get all the paperwork in. So we know that those rides are inspected, but we just don't have all the costs. The cost is paid by the amusement ride owner to the private inspectors. And I had hoped to do the same thing with weights and measures. We inspect every gas pump. As some of you from Meadville, or if you read the Meadville Tribune, you know that Meadville just, there were a few, like Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Erie, where they did their food inspections, their gas pump inspections. But each county used to do that. And then as they couldn't afford to do it, they turned it over to the state. So we kept getting more and more piled onto the state, and we are not allowed to pass on or charge for the testing. I planned on doing that for the gas pumps too, but we had one thing where the Department of Agriculture also inspects the parking meters. You know how many parking meters there are in Pennsylvania? Well, we don't take the money out of the parking meters, but we do the inspections. And we have to, the only way you can check a parking meter is you put the money in, and you stand there with a stopwatch, and you time it to make sure that the time is right. And so what a waste of, me being a farmer, I look at it with the common sense is, the person taking the money out of the meters, if you have 20 meters in a row, and you take the money out, and let's say you get $25 out of each one, and you get to the middle, and there's one you get $2 out of. That's the one you put a red flag on, and that's the one you check. That's the first one to check. But we didn't have that opportunity because we weren't taking the money out of it. So we were able to get a bill passed, and that bill took parking meters away from the Department of Agriculture and gave it to the municipality that the meters are in. So we have been very fortunate as far as legislatively what we've done. We were able to pass a bill eliminating inheritance tax on family farms, eliminating inheritance tax on small businesses, because we went to begin with to the farmers, and we got that passed. And then we found out there's a lot of people that did not qualify, that were processing their own milk, making cheese, making yogurt, making something out of their ag products. And so we were able to get another bill passed eliminating the inheritance tax on small businesses. We also got 3 ag transportation bills passed, increasing the width that we could go down the highway with our equipment, our larger farm equipment, and also extending the radius and the length of service that we can use our ag exempted vehicles, our ag exempted trucks. I think that those 3 bills that were passed were great for farmers because it kind of helped move Pennsylvania up into the 21st century compared to some of the other states around us. The transportation funding bill that was just passed, I know it was very controversial, but I have to tell you one story. Dairy is the largest part of agriculture in Pennsylvania. We're 5th in the nation in dairy production. And so when we had a company, DMS, Dairy Management Services, wanted to supply some of the yogurt plants in New York with whey and skim milk, they were told, no, we don't want Pennsylvania milk because the weight limit in New York is 95,000 gross vehicle weight. Pennsylvania is 80,000. So they said if we needed 10 loads of milk in New York, we would have to get 14 loads to get the same amount of milk from Pennsylvania. That means we have to pay for the transportation on 14 loads instead of 10. We'd have to pay to schedule 14 trucks instead of 10, wash 14 trucks instead of 10. The same size trucks, we just couldn't fill them, we could only fill them 2/3 full. And just that one contract that DMS was trying to get that they lost was $100 million. So that's $100 million that could have come into Pennsylvania's economy, could have come into Pennsylvania agriculture, into the dairy industry. So that's when I kind of woke up as far as how limiting the weight limits in not fixing our infrastructure has been. Also heard a lot of testimony from farmers that have a bridge out near their farm where the weight limit has been restricted, and instead of being able to go to the mill at 4 miles, they've gone 14 miles or 17 miles or whatever. All that adds up. Business capital and franchise taxes. In 2011, we cut Pennsylvania's capital franchise tax in half. In 2012, we cut it in half again. And the plan was that January 2014 it was going to be eliminated altogether. But we got a lot of flack because of, we've cut the revenue as far as inheritance taxes and all the other taxes that we've cut. So we weren't able to accomplish that. Now we've stretched that out. It's supposed to be, it's supposed to diminish, and I think it's by the year 2017, it's going to be eliminated completely. But we are working on getting taxes down, and it's just, it's kind of tough. We came in with a $4.2 billion deficit, and then, as I said, serving on the governor's executive board, I found out that we owed the federal government $4.9 billion in workman's compensation that had not been paid before we got there. So we've been able to, cut costs, not spend any more than what we make, and we've done a lot to get to where we're at. We still have a ways to go yet. I don't know how much time I have or whatever. I'd gladly answer any questions if I didn't cover anything that anybody wants to talk about or wants to ask me. Now's your chance. I can't believe that you're Scott. Yes.
Glad to hear George speak. He's been in the Lions Farm Bureau. We worked together many projects, but the ethanol project that we worked on in Meadville, they just now put it in the paper that Deerfield Farms is going to work on grain. What do you know about that? Grain elevators.
Well, I know that they're looking at about the same area that we were looking at a long time ago. Deerfield Farms is over in Ohio. In fact, my wife and I were down to Deerfield Saturday. But they're an up-and-coming organization, a great company. Who knows what's going to happen with corn prices? I think now that they realize that they have an opportunity to make some money by holding on to corn. I know that they've got quite a bit of storage. When you get into eastern Pennsylvania, there's more of a shortage. The price of corn is higher, and beans is higher also. So who knows what's going to happen with that? I know that the price of milk, and it looks good as far as I can see for the next few months anyway. Looks very good, especially since, California's getting some rain now, but there for a while, California was losing 1,000 dairy farms a month. They were tearing out their parlors and putting in almond groves. So, and then the almond trees were dying because there wasn't enough rain, but now they've gotten 20 inches of rain, so who knows what's going to happen down there. But I think that well, we're up to 11.7% of the dairy products produced are being exported. And as I mentioned before, that we just have to keep up with the exports. The only thing that scares me is, we've had some problems with the federal government as far as interfering into exports. If they would just allow us to do what's right and what the other countries agree with, it's a shame when you have a product that you want to sell to another country and they're okay with everything, but your federal government still makes you jump through some hoops. So, but any other questions?
George, do you have any reports on farm show?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't mention that. I'm glad you brought that up, Jack. The 98th Pennsylvania Farm Show was a success. It's in the history books now. Of course, we're coming off, last year was a record attendance. 585,000 people were through there last year. So this year, because of the cold weather, as you can imagine, when it's 10 below zero, there's a lot of farmers that don't want to travel to Harrisburg, or if they have animals there, they still have animals at home to take care of too. So the first weekend we were down, and total for the whole farm show, we were down 19% attendance-wise. We still had a little over 500,000 attendees there. So it was a great show. Some of the food court people were complaining about their revenues were down, but when you're coming off of a all-time attendance record, you kind of have to expect that. We did not have any sickness. Of course, all the dairy farmers and beef farmers know that cattle would rather have cold than the roller coaster of hot and cold. So we didn't have any major outbreaks with the animals. We had 6,000 head of livestock in the farm show, and 10,000 exhibitors, 300 vendors, and just a great show. If you haven't been to the farm show complex, you need to go. It's 1 million square feet under roof. That's 24 acres under roof, and you can imagine 500,000 people in there at one time, and you still are able to walk around. All of the food booths at the food court, they have you have your roast beef sandwiches, and I know that Kelly and a lot of people here work down there for other events. They have the cheese cubes and milkshakes, and the profits from like the mushrooms and the vegetables and the beef and all that, after their costs are paid, that money goes into scholarships and sponsorships for those different organizations. So it's a major fundraiser for each ag commodity at the farm show, and it's just great. We also, as secretary, I sit on the Farm Show Scholarship Commission, and we raise money through some sales and donations, and raise money for scholarships for kids who show at the farm show. And last year we went over our $1 million in scholarships. So this year we gave $3,500 scholarships to 25 students, 25 4-H FFA farm show participants. They got scholarships. It's a great program because we kind of shame Penn State and Del Valley into matching those scholarships, so those farm kids will get $7,000 scholarship, and that's great for you know, for our kids, for the rural kids. Any other questions? Anything else?
George, what is your relationship as Secretary of Agriculture with like Ag Progress Days?
Well, Ag Progress Days is mostly Penn State's baby, but we do go there. We have a building at the Ag Progress Days, and we work very close with Penn State University. In fact, you know, I was talking about saving money. One of the things that we've done to save money is came up, talked with Penn State people, and we do a lot of outreach and a lot of different programs. So does Penn State University. And the three areas that we identified was food safety, animal care, and plant health. And both sides, you know, we kind of overlapped. So we're starting what's called resource centers. We have a director for that. And we kicked in $300,000. You ask now, how is that saving money? But we looked into it, and we had spent $282,000 or $289,000 just in making up the literature that we gave out in those three areas. So we just kind of handed it over to Penn State University, and with the $300,000, because that $300,000 didn't even include any salary position or any time for any employees. So I think that we're going to save money. We're going to do it better, and we're going to combine forces, and we're going to have more outreach than we did before, and with less cost. So, it's a lot of it involved is thinking outside the box. But Ag Progress Days is mostly Penn State University research, and it shows what they've been working on. We work very closely with Penn State. We also work with University of Pennsylvania, and we have a tripart lab, which is, we have Penn Vet Lab at Harrisburg, right behind the Department of Agriculture, University of Pennsylvania, and Penn State University. We all three have a concerted effort that we work together on animal health, and we all, are always on the lookout for diseases and pandemics that could occur here in Pennsylvania and the United States. I have to say a little bit about the hardwood industry in Pennsylvania, because my friend David's out there. I serve as chairman of the Hardwood Development Council, and I can tell you, as far as exports, that last year we exported $1.1 billion worth of Pennsylvania hardwoods. Some of that was in logs, some of it's in lumber, some of it's in finished products, cabinets, and finished products. It's huge in Pennsylvania. Now, we know that more here than they do in eastern Pennsylvania. The hardwood people were hard hit when there was downturn in the housing industry, and of course I got on there. We were already scraping the bottom of the barrel, and we worked on exports because we knew that there was a growing need in other countries for this raw material. And if you ask me, of course I've got timber on my farm, and I know that that's a valuable resource, and I know that to me that's like the first value-added product that ever was. You take raw material and you turn it into a house or furniture or table, whatever you need, whatever you can use. So the hardwood industry is doing much better now. We got a little bit of a break for them as far as transportation before the transportation funding did come about. And so in Act 13, the impact or Marcellus Shale, we were able to put a little bit of a paragraph in there exempting them on some of the bonding requirements for the roads. So we've been able to help that industry out, and it's just there's a lot there. Any other questions?
How's that other farm show doing? Was it Keystone?
Keystone Farm Show. They're doing well. I did not make it down to that this year, but I've talked to, I was down to Hoover's, which is a KHIH dealer in Chambersburg. I spoke to one of their customer appreciation day, and they were there. They said their attendance is growing.
Did they have cattle there?
I don't believe they have cattle, but they have a lot of equipment. And that's basically a spin-off of the people that don't want to put up with all the non-farmers. But I have to tell you, going back to the farm show, that we have an exhibit there. It's called Today's Ag. And in that Today's Ag, they built a barn inside of the Wise Exposition Hall. And people from all, well, 500,000 people walk through it. And it shows what freestalls look like. It shows what turkey cages and chicken cages are like. It shows the average people, the non-farmer, how their food's grown and what conditions the animals are taken care of, how they're taken care of. And I think that has gone a long way to educate the non-farmers on how we treat our animals. And we have volunteers that are at each one of the stations, and they explain to people, you know, how long it takes, how many eggs a chicken lays, and we also have veal, part in there for veal. So they answer a lot of questions. And I think that has done a lot to educate the non-farmers and show them exactly how their food is raised and how it's produced. Any other questions?
Well, I want to thank you very much for coming out. We want to give you a small token of our appreciation. It's a keychain, so you can put it in a car while you're traveling to the great state of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and think of your time that you spent with us here. I do promise the most important thing is to get everybody out on time, they tell me, and I failed them once again. I do have one order of business to do over there, which is we have our 50-50 drawing, and
Okay, we have 50-50 today. If you are the lucky winner, you'll receive $78.50, but it's not a regular 50-50, it's a progressive. So if we draw your number, you'll receive $2, and thank you for playing. And you get to choose a card. If you get the King of Hearts, then you win the big money. Okay, did I explain it correctly?
you did a great job, Terry.
All right. We'll leave it in here, give it. Okay, that'll be a good one. Okay, and he chooses number 756653.
Oh.
Here's your $2. You don't get the King of Hearts. Come on. That's all pressure. No pressure. Here we go. Find the spades.
Well, thank you.
We'll go back in and it'll hopefully grow for next week.
So come back next week.
And the proceeds from that goes to pay for our children's Christmas party.
Yeah. So thank you very much. As you were speaking, I go amusement rides, and it struck me because at Cussaloga Town, Boy Scout camp, we have a zip line. We now fall under your jurisdiction, so you're invited. I'm going to bring you to Cussaloga Town to ride the zip line if you're up to it this summer, and you can tell me how good the inspection is.
All right. We actually went down and did a 26-stage zip line in Kentucky last summer. So, well, my wife and I, and it's a job. It was fun. But I want to take this opportunity to thank the Rotary for acknowledging agriculture, and thank the farmers here in Crawford County for all that you do for agriculture. You know, I'm just one guy in a team here, but appreciate all you do. And also, Michelle Brooks is very humble. She's running for state senate. She did not mention that, but she's replacing Bob Robbins, who is retiring. And Michelle has been a fantastic team member down there for agriculture, and we appreciate all her efforts in the House, and we hope that they will continue in the Senate. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. All right, and I just asked if you to stay for some pictures afterwards if you want to. And Michelle, can we get you back another day to talk about issues? All right, well, thank you, everybody. Have a safe trip home. See you next week.